Before the United States existed, before independence was declared, before 13 colonies became a nation, there was Boston. In 1630, English Puritans arrived in Massachusetts Bay. They were seeking religious freedom. They built a small settlement on a peninsula surrounded by cold Atlantic waters. That settlement would grow into one of the most influential cities in American history. From the beginning, Boston was bold. Its people were outspoken. Its leaders were determined. By the mid-1700s, tensions between the American colonies and Great Britain were rising. Parliament imposed new taxes. Colonists protested. Boston became the center of resistance. In March of 1770, something happened that changed everything. A confrontation between British soldiers and local colonists turned violent. Shots were fired. 5 colonists were killed. The event became known as the Boston Massacre. Patriot leaders used the tragedy to unite the colonies against British rule. The city's streets became charged with anger and purpose. 3 years later, in December of 1773, another dramatic moment unfolded. British ships carrying tea were docked in Boston Harbor. Colonists, disguised as Mohawk Indians, boarded the ships. They dumped hundreds of chests of tea into the icy water. The Boston Tea Party was not just protest, it was rebellion. Britain responded harshly. Boston Harbor was closed. Troops were sent. The city was placed under strict control. But instead of silencing resistance, it strengthened it. In April of 1775, the first shots of the American Revolution were fired near Boston, at Lexington and Concord. The war for independence had begun. Soon after, colonial forces surrounded Boston. In June of that year, one of the most famous battles took place, the Battle of Bunker Hill. Though the British won the hill, they suffered heavy losses. The message was clear: the colonies would fight. By March of 1776, British troops evacuated Boston. The city had become a symbol of revolution. After independence, Boston continued to shape the nation. It became a center of trade, culture, and education. In 1636, even before the Revolution, Harvard University had been founded nearby in Cambridge. It would grow into one of the most prestigious universities in the world. Boston became known as a city of thinkers and reformers. In the 1800s, it was a major hub of the abolitionist movement. Leaders like Frederick Douglass spoke in its halls. Citizens demanded the end of slavery. The city stood again on the side of change. Immigration reshaped Boston in the 19th century. Irish families fleeing famine arrived in large numbers. Italian immigrants followed. Neighborhoods formed. Traditions blended. The city became more diverse, stronger, more complex. In the 20th century, Boston faced new challenges: economic shifts, urban renewal, political tension. Yet it remained a center of education and innovation. World-class institutions such as Massachusetts Institute of Technology and leading hospitals transformed the region into a global hub of science and research. Boston was no longer just a historic city. It was a modern powerhouse of knowledge. But Boston has also endured tragedy. In April of 2013, during the Boston Marathon, 2 bombs exploded near the finish line. The attack shocked the nation. Yet, in the days that followed, a phrase echoed across the city: Boston strong. The community came together, resilient, united, determined. Today, Boston is a living museum. The Freedom Trail winds through its streets, connecting sites of revolution and remembrance. Visitors stand at the Old North Church. They walk past Faneuil Hall. They stand quietly at the site of the Boston Massacre. History feels close here, almost alive. Boston is more than buildings and landmarks. It is courage. It is protest. It is learning. It is resilience. From colonial rebellion to intellectual leadership, to modern unity, Boston has always stood at the front of change. It is called the Cradle of Liberty, and for good reason, because long before America declared independence, Boston had already begun the fight.